Hi everyone, this is Liz. I'm here with Jana from the OSU Extension Office. Thank you for joining our cooking class. And Jana, this month we're going over some cooking basics, right? Can you tell us
That's
about that?
right. Yeah, we are. This class we're gonna talk a little bit about some knife skills, and we're just gonna go over some things that we all know, but sometimes we just need a little refresher course on it. So nothing too involved. I'm just gonna give a few tips and hints, and then we'll do a good recipe and see if anybody's have any questions.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming back and hanging with us, guys. It's been a good while. I've been missing everybody hanging out. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit about knives and knife skills. We all use knives every day in the kitchen, but sometimes we're not always using the right knife, or maybe we might be doing some things that might be a little dangerous. So, Liz, if you want to go ahead and put up my first slide there. Oh, forgot about this one. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is June, and it is National Fruit and Vegetable Month. So, fruits and veggies, that's my favorite thing. This is a good time to make it kind of special. Try some new recipes. Try some new fruits. If you haven't tried something, say if you haven't tried a jackfruit, or a lot of people haven't tried a fresh mango, something like that, or vegetables. Right now, our gardens are starting to come on. Don't have a whole lot out there, but the farmers market is up and going. So, try some. There might still be some asparagus around, or try some new recipes to work some more veggies into your diet. June is just a good way to sample some new things and get some new things in the menu. So, I'm sorry. Now let's move on to that knife safety. Thanks, Liz. So, knife safety is just basic being careful, okay? First off, you always want to make sure you're selecting the right knife for the task. You don't want to use obviously a big cleaver to maybe peel a potato, because that's going to be too dangerous, right? The blade is way too big for the job you're doing. So try to select a knife that is going to be easy to handle with the job that you're doing. And then always keep your knives well maintained. That means, try to keep them sharp. It's not a bad idea to find a nice knife sharpener to keep in your drawer with your knives. That way, if you find one that's getting a little dull, make sure you sharpen up that blade. You actually can hurt yourself worse with a dull knife than you can with a sharp knife, because if a knife is dull, you're going to exert more force. So then if you do happen to stab it into your hand or your finger, you're going to be pushing harder, and you could potentially make that cut a lot deeper. And then also make sure that the handles are in good condition. I prefer to use a knife that has got a one piece. So a lot of knives though have got like the plastic or the wooden handles. If those are loose, if it's something you really, really value, try to get it fixed professionally. And if it's something that's not of great value to you, toss it and get a knife that would be a little more safer to use. And then always use a cutting board. That's going to do a couple things for you. It's going to, number one, protect your countertops. It's going to make sure you're not putting big gouges and cuts into your countertops. And then it's also going to provide you with a clean, sanitary surface to work with, because we always want to make sure that our food is not going to be exposed to any kind of bacteria or anything that may be on our counters, okay? And then when we're using a knife, we always want to make sure that we're cutting in a downward motion away from the body. You don't ever want to be pulling that knife back towards you, because if you would slip, especially if you're exerting any type of force on something, it would be really easy to run it into your abdomen and hurt yourself seriously. So always make sure you're cutting away from yourself. Clean your knives immediately after use, but always keep in mind we do not want to just throw a knife into a sink full of soapy water. Um, you may forget that it's in there, go to reach in and grab something else and accidentally grab that blade. Or you never know, that might be the day that that family member is going to come in and help you out with the dishes unexpectedly, and they're going to reach into that water and they're going to hit that knife blade and cut themselves seriously. So always make sure to wash your knives first, put them in the water, wash them immediately and take them out, or put them to the side and wash them last, so you're not leaving them laying in that sink full of soapy water where you may not be able to see them. And then store your knives safely. Always make sure that they're in a block or into a special drawer in your kitchen, so that everyone is aware where they're kept. You want to make sure the blades are always pointed away from where you're going to reach in and grab them. You don't want to have the knife point the blades back towards you where you can reach in and accidentally grab the sharp edge and cut yourself. And then never, ever try to catch a falling knife. Yeah, it might put a little hole in your floor, or it might damage the knife, but that is a whole lot better than actually cutting your hand while you're trying to catch a knife. And always jump back as well, because it's real easy for a falling knife. I just had a coworker tell me that yesterday she dropped a knife, and she must be living right, because it dropped right between her toes, barely nicked the inside of her one toe, but did not cut her seriously, so she lucked out. So make sure you try to get your feet, your entire body out of the way of a falling knife. Okay, so different types of knives. I mean, there are several different kinds of knives, and if you've got them all, that's great. But you're probably going to find that when you're cooking, there are going to be your few go-to knives. So I'm just going to show you a few of mine that I use. This is just my standard utility knife. This is about a 10-inch blade, and this is something that's going to be really good to cut melons, large cuts of meat, anything like that. And you want to make sure you're keeping this nice and sharp, because you're going to have to put some force on something like this, because you're going to put your tip of your knife onto your surface and push down, and you want to make sure that it's nice and sharp so that it goes through. And then there's the smaller mid-sized utility knife. This is great for like cutting through large sweet potatoes, that kind of thing. So, and you notice that these are all one-piece knives. I'm always going to make sure that I don't have anything that's going to break off, and it's going to be easy to handle. A good serrated knife. I'm not real sure if y'all can see how the edge of this knife has got little small teeth on it. This knife is really good for cutting through things that have a thick skin but maybe a soft flesh, like a tomato. Tomato's got that thicker skin on the outside, but the inside is soft. So you want to have something you can kind of saw, get through that thick skin, and it's going to go through easily through the flesh of that. Or peach would be another thing you would think of, having thick skin. And then the good old handy dandy paring knife. This is a knife that you're going to have, and you're going to use a lot of these. I have several paring knives. I collect them, I think, because these are what you're going to peel potatoes with. This is what you're going to cut small items up with. And it is going to be one that you're going to work with in your hand quite a bit. So you're also going to want to make sure that you're going to keep these nice and sharp as well. But then my most favorite, and this is the one you're going to see me use this evening when I'm making the recipe, this is just a good chef's knife. This is a mid-sized knife. It's got about a 6-inch blade here. It's really good for cutting. It's really good. You can use it. It's wide enough with the blade. You can use it to scrape on your cutting board, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that here in just a second. And then last but not least, don't let me forget, my handy dandy kitchen shears. You've probably, if you watch my classes much, you've heard me say this is probably the most used utensil in my kitchen. I use it for everything from trimming meat, to cutting herbs, to opening packages. I have, again, probably 8 or 9 pairs of kitchen shears, because I use them all the time, and I want to make sure I always have a clean pair handy. Okay. All right, so let me slide these knives back into my safe spot here in my drawer and get these put away. Liz, you want to pop up that recipe there so we can talk about what we're making today? Okay, we're going to make a nice strawberry salsa. Strawberries, we are in Ohio, guys, and June is all about the strawberries in Ohio. They are really coming on strong. The groceries have been having a lot of really good sales on them. I know that the farmers market, they've been having a lot of really good strawberries on their for sale on Saturday. I have this little small strawberry patch, and up until just a few days ago, I was picking about a quart a day. So strawberries are really
strawberries.
Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, it's just a little small patch, so they're pretty prolific when they start coming on. So
I just wanted to mention real quick, the link that I posted for the recipe doesn't actually work. So I'm going to find another way of sharing the recipe. But we do have it on the screen right now, and I'll after the broadcast, I'll have another way of sharing it.
Okay, perfect. And it's really simple, a really super quick recipe. It's strawberries, a little bit of jalapeno pepper, a little bit of onion, some cilantro, and lime juice. I mean, it's really simple ingredients. 1.5 cups of finely chopped strawberries, about a half a pound, and then a half of a jalapeno pepper, a smaller jalapeno pepper. I've got a pretty large one here, you'll see, but I'm going to kind of cut that down just a little bit. About a 1/4 cup of finely chopped onion, and then 2 tablespoons of cilantro chopped up, which is where I'm going to use them kitchen shears for, and a little bit of lime juice. So go ahead, I'm going to turn my camera here so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I've always, as always, I've started a little bit of prep here. So I've got most of my strawberries already cut up. But I want to show you guys a little hack. It's usually a lot of times when you go to clean your strawberries and you want to cut this green stuff off the top of it, we have to sacrifice a little bit of the fruit because we always have to cut that top off, right? So I want to show you a way to get this green stem off the strawberries and not waste all this good strawberry around the top. And this is what they call hulling the strawberry, because the inside of the strawberry, the white fuzzy part, is what they call the hull. Okay, so what you do is you just take your strawberry, you're going to take a plastic straw. These are some reusable straws that I found in the grocery. I think I got a pack of like 12 of them for $1.99. And these are great because we use them for everything around here. You can put them in the dishwasher, get them sanitized, and reuse them. That way we're not putting a lot of things into our landfills. But you're going to take your strawberry and you're going to just push that straw through that strawberry, and then it'll pop out the top, and looky there. Takes that right out of there. There's the white part, there's the green part, and now we've got strawberry all ready to be cut up, okay? And this is really good for if you're making a fruit tray and you want to put whole berries on your fruit tray. That way you don't waste a whole lot, and they're still pretty this way, okay? So let me do that with another one here, because I've got just about a cup and a half of strawberries already cut up. So there we go. Pop that right off of there. So let me move these berries over to the side here. Excuse my arm. And we will finish cutting up these two berries. And as I said, this is my good old chef's knife here. So I'm just going to keep my fingers back and slice this strawberry into slices. And then you can just, once you have a flat surface, you're going to cut through it. And this is a dice cut because I'm making little squares, okay? And I've already got most of these cut up. And this goes pretty quick. So just slicing, making about 1/4 inch slices. And then dicing. You always want to try to make sure you keep your fingers back because you don't want to lose a fingertip or a fingernail. And I do keep my knives pretty sharp. And then, like I said, the handy part about this is you can take your knife and use it as a scoop, okay? Be careful with your fingers, though. They're pushing up on there. Do not cut yourself. All right, so there's about a cup and a half strawberries ready. And I've got a jalapeno. As I said, these are pretty large, and then I've got a pretty large onion here. Well, this is the second time I've made this salsa today, so I did this in another class today. So I already still had a half of a jalapeno here. So you want to cut it in half, and then you want to cut down the center, and we're going to take the seeds and what they call the pith, that white part, and we're going to slide that right off of there. And then we're going to cut this in strips, keeping your fingers back, and you're going to dice this jalapeno into really small pieces because we're going to put this in our salsa, but we don't want big chunks of jalapeno because that can get a little spicy, especially if we're feeding this to little ones. The strawberries will take a lot of the heat away from the jalapeno, so you don't have to really worry about, being too overpowering. But smaller bites are better when it comes to jalapeno, okay? So let me get that pith off of there, and then we will maybe just a little bit more because we're going to want, the recipe calls for half of a jalapeno, and this is a rather large one, so we're going to do about 1/4 of it, okay? And then once I have this cut into dices, I'm going to take my knife, and I'm just going to rock it. So I'm going to hold the tip here, and I'm going to rock this knife through there and just mince this up. That's going to really make it in smaller pieces, and then it also will bring those juices out and help you distribute the flavor of the jalapeno through your salsa, okay? But keep your finger out of the way and just rock it through there. And then carefully make sure that you're getting those big chunks there. Now, another good thing, remember, when you're chopping up jalapenos is do not touch your face, because if you rub your eye or your nose, you're going to have a little bit of discomfort from all the spice of the jalapeno. Okay, so there we go. Let me go ahead and start putting my things in my bowl. I got a nice bowl here. Put my strawberries in here. And then I'm going to add in my jalapeno. Let's get that out of the way. We don't need that. Got plenty here. And then we're going to do the same thing with our onion. And I've got an onion that I've already cut here. So I'm going to cut off. You always want to make sure you're getting a flat surface. Okay, so I'm going to need about a 1/4 cup of onion. And just from experience, I know that this slab of onion is going to give me about a 1/4 cup once it's diced and minced up. And I'm just going to start dicing this up, keeping my fingers back out of the way. And then we're going to do the same process. We're going to start rocking that knife through here, and we're going to mince this onion up because you want small pieces. This is a kind of a sweet and savory type salsa because you got the sweetness of the strawberries, you got the heat of the jalapeno, and then you're going to have the pungent, strong flavor of the onion. So they're going to blend together really well and make a really nice salsa. And this stores up pretty well too, but I wouldn't recommend making this too far ahead of time because if you've ever, if you have a lot of experience with strawberries, once you cut them, they start turning a little translucent. So you want to make this up maybe, a couple hours before you're going to serve it. And it will still be good the next day. It just won't be as pretty. So if you want this to be pretty for a special occasion or something like that, you don't want to make it up too far ahead of time just so your berries don't get kind of watery looking. Okay, so about a 1/4 cup. And we don't have to get our onion quite as small as the jalapeno because, a good bite of onion tastes pretty good. All right, so that's probably about a 1/2 cup. So we're only going to use just about half of this, okay? So there we go. All right, so there we are. We got our jalapeno, we got our strawberries, and we got our onions in here. And now I'm going to take some cilantro, as you can see back here. A good way to store your cilantro is to put it into a cup of water. I've already washed this. And that way you can just leave it in the water. It'll keep from wilting down. And it'll stay good for days as long as you got it setting in some water to keep it from fresh. It's just like cut flowers. You can keep it fresh for a good while by keeping it on your counter in a glass of water. Okay, so here we go. I got these kitchen shears, right? So I'm just going to grab this in a bunch, keeping my fingers back, and I'm going to start snipping, okay? And then you can just start running it through. You can do this with your knife as well, but I just seem to find it doesn't seem like it bruises it quite so bad using the shears. When you take a knife through it, it kind of bruises the cilantro up and it gets dark spots on it, and I just like to keep it pretty and green. So as you can see here, I can just keep cutting. Try to keep, you saw when I pulled that off of there, I didn't keep the big stems. I want to keep just the leaves so you don't have any big chunks of the stems in here, okay? So you want about 2 tablespoons. And this smells really good. Cilantro is one of my favorite herbs. I know some people are not a big fan, but I really like it. So we're just going to take our cilantro. We're going to add it in our bowl with our rest of our items. Use my handy dandy scraper knife here. Okay. And there we go. So let me slide that cutting board back out of the way. Now I'm going to put in, what does it call for? 1½ teaspoons of lime juice. And this is just a bottled lime juice. You can buy a fresh lime if you want to do that. I just find that it's easier for me to keep a bottle of juice around because I use quite a bit of it. And I don't have to worry about my limes, going bad on the counter. And I'm eyeballing that ½ teaspoon. Okay. Actually, that was probably a little shy. Let's put some more in there. Okay. All right, and then I'm just going to take my spoon here and stir this around really pretty. And there we go, guys. Look how quick that went together. Now, you would want to let this set for probably to get the ultimate flavor out of the cilantro and to let the jalapeno and the onions kind of do their thing. Let it set for about probably 25 to 30 minutes to let everything kind of mix up, and it's going to do well in the refrigerator as well. It's going to help it blend just a little bit. So we're going to let that set for just a few minutes. And Liz, if you want to go ahead and put up our next slides, I want to talk a little bit about storing our fresh fruits and vegetables and the best ways to store them. Okay, so um, for to store in the refrigerator, the things you should store in the refrigerator would be apples for more than 7 days, apricots, Asian pears, berries, cherries, cut fruit, figs, grapes, and then for vegetables, your artichokes, your asparagus, your green beans, your beets, um, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, anything that might wilt down, any cut vegetables, green onions, herbs, but not basil. Basil you want to keep it on the counter. Leafy vegetables like your lettuces, leeks, mushrooms, peas, anything like that that's going to without being if they're out in the heat, they're going to start getting shriveled. You want to store those in the refrigerator and place them in a separate perforated plastic bag or in a bowl with a paper towel, something to keep the moisture away, and that's going to make them last a little bit longer. You must use them usually within 1 to 3 days to get the maximum flavor and freshness, and then store them each in their own container as well too. Try not to mix them together because they will take on the flavors of each other, and different enzymes that come out of these fruits and vegetables will cause other ones to ripen faster, so you may get some spoilage that way. Things that you should leave on the counter before you refrigerate are avocados, kiwis, nectarines, peaches, pears, plums. These are things that you need to ripen them just a little bit. Usually when we buy peaches, right now peaches are starting to come into the store, and they're usually a little hard. So you want to leave them set out on the counter for maybe a day or so to let them start ripening up, and then put them in the refrigerator to kind of slow down the ripening process. Try to, prevent moisture loss by storing them, in a paper bag, or again, use that paper towel, something that's going to keep moisture from actually causing it to rot, I guess was for lack of a better word, for it to deteriorate a little bit. And after ripening, you can keep them in the refrigerator for 1 to 3 days. Okay. Then after they've ripened, you want to maybe put them in the freezer. You can cut things up like your apricots, your peaches. You can cut them up into chunks and put them into freezer containers and throw them in the freezer, and they'll last for a good 3 to 4 months. Sometimes even as long as 6 months in the freezer. Store at room temperature. Mainly fruits and vegetables that should be stored are going to be your apples for fewer than 7 days. If it's going to keep them for longer than 7 days, you won't put them in the refrigerator. Bananas. Never put bananas in the refrigerator. That will cause them to ripen almost instantly. I know if anybody has ever bought bananas in the wintertime and had to leave them in the car, they turn brown almost instantly. Citrus fruits, your oranges, your lemons, your limes, they should be kept on the counter. Mangoes should be kept on the counter as long as they're not cut. Melons, the same way, keep them on the counter, but once they are cut, they need to be stored in the refrigerator. Vegetables, basil will last forever on the counter in a glass of water, just like I did the cilantro. So there's no need to ever put it in the refrigerator. Cucumbers will need to be kept on the counter. They will tend to ripen too fast in the refrigerator. Eggplants the same way. Garlic, onions, peppers, potatoes, pumpkins, sweet potatoes, tomatoes. Tomatoes are, if you put them in the refrigerator, they will go bad within a day, 2 days at the most. So make sure you're keeping those on the counter and watch for them when they get super ripe. That is the time you either need to use them or cut them up, store them in the refrigerator for another 2 to 3 days, or get them in the freezer, okay? And then always make sure you're cleaning all your produce. Do not, when I come home, like these strawberries and the cilantro, when I bring it home, the strawberries, berries, you do not want to clean them until you get ready to use them. But before you use them, they need to be washed. I don't care if the package says pre-washed or triple washed. They got all these different marketing ploys. This produce, for the most part, in Ohio is being shipped into us. So it's been through several different hands, different facilities, different vehicles on its way to us. So even though it says it's clean, please, please, please make sure you're rinsing it several times with just cool running water. Do not use any detergents. You need any special solutions to put on them. Please never use bleach. Bleach it'll make you ill. You don't want to do that. But always make sure that you're washing this stuff. And then if you're using something like a lettuce or something that's going to make it wilt down with the water, try to get a vegetable spinner where you can spin that excess water off. Okay? All right, Liz. Okay, guys, so let's serve this salsa up. I've got some homemade chips here, and you guys, if you've been to my classes before, you know how I make these with the tortillas. Just cut them in triangles, put them in a hot oven for about 3 to 4 minutes with a little bit of cooking spray, flip them over another 3 to 4 minutes, and you've got some nice homemade tortilla chips that are not deep fried. Good for you. And
And
then
those are tasty, and we are going to be making some of those at one of our July classes, right?
we will. Yes, we will, because this is one of, I know Liz really likes these. But
Mm-hmm.
look how pretty that is, guys. And I'm telling you what, I'm going to take a bite. If I can get some on my chip. Oh, yeah. That is some good stuff right there. This is a nice summery salsa that you can use just for dip like this. It would be good on some broiled or grilled chicken. I think it also, I've never tried it, but I think it would be good with some grilled fish. It's got a nice sweet savory flavor to it, so it will go with a lot of different things, but it's a really nice healthy snack as well.
Sounds delicious.
It is good. And
So
another thing, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll be making this again. Like I said, this is the second time I made it today, but I'll be trying to make this as long as the weather permits this Saturday at the farmer's market. So if you want to stop by, I will be there with Lisa Barledge from the Extension office, and you can taste this salsa, hopefully in person.
So have you ever tried, when you chop up the strawberries, have you ever tried leaving the greens on? Because strawberry greens are edible.
Yes, I know
and
they are.
Actually have more nutritional value than the berries.
I never have. I've heard of people doing it. I just never have. So
as I was watching you chop up the cilantro, I thought, you know what? Those strawberry leaves would probably just blend right in with the cilantro.
Right. You're right. Good suggestion, Liz. We're going to try that next time.
I do that in smoothies. If I'm making smoothies with whole strawberries, I just toss them in, greens and all.
Yeah.
And it just kind of goes in with the smoothie, and I get that extra nutrition boost.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I'm going to try that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's something. And another thing, too, when you're chopping your vegetables, I don't know how involved people get with their cooking, but like I have these ends of the pieces from the peppers and from the onions. You can save all of those pieces and parts, the skins, everything, and make your own vegetable broth. It's really super easy to do. Save it for the week in a container in the refrigerator, and then on the weekend when you got time, put it all in a pot, boil it up, let it cook and cook down, and then just strain out the hard parts, and you've got a nice, healthy, salt-free homemade vegetable broth as well.
And if you roast the veggie parts first, you bring out even more flavor.
Yeah, it really enhances the sugars and brings the flavor out. Yeah.
Yep.
You're right.
So we have one more virtual class this month, June 23rd, in 2 weeks from today, and we'll be doing another set of just kind of basic cooking skills. And then July we have in-person classes. So anyone interested in those in-person classes should visit our online calendar, and I will put a link to that. And we're going to be doing some hands-on cooking, or prep at least, at those classes. It won't be quite like the classes that we used to do. Nobody's going to be sharing food, but everybody will have a chance to try some things out and learn some new recipes.
Yeah, we'll be practicing these nice skills that I was talking about. We'll be talking a little bit more about kitchen safety, and we're going to be doing some really good summer-related recipes that are going to be really come in handy for busy schedules, since everybody, sports are kicking in. People are running around a lot with summertime, so some really good recipes too, and I look forward to seeing everybody in person. I've missed everybody, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and if at all possible, we are going to be outside in the shelter house to enjoy some of that nice summer weather too.
That's right.
So I look forward to seeing everyone also.
Can't wait.
Well, thank you, Jonna. I will see you again virtually in a couple weeks and in person next month. And until then, enjoy that strawberry salsa.
Oh, I will. Like I said, if you get a chance, stop by the table with us Saturday at the farmer's market, and maybe I can give you a little cup and you can take it home and try it out. So
sounds good. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.